Hello and good afternoon. And I hope this magnificent Monday finds you doing well. Today, you can also call it Manifestation Monday, Money Making Monday, or Manifestation Monday. And today, I woke up to do some journaling. I'll talk more about that. And what came to my mind was actually this. So this is a picture that I got on stock, but it is a picture that if I had a picture of me as a little girl, I would share it because it is a picture that I found based on the fact that this morning I was journaling and what came up for me in my mind were thoughts of me as a little girl. And I started thinking how this little girl that you see there, and that's not really me, but this little girl really, I'll share it in here. This little girl really did not believe, as a little Christian girl, that God wanted her to be rich. Do you imagine that? So, as a little girl, I remember memorizing so many Bible texts, and so many of them have been in my mind. And yet, this morning, as I woke up and I was journaling, I really started to have a massive download about different types of Bible verses that I memorized when I was a little kid. That's right. I made myself a Christian. I say I made myself a Christian because really that's how it was when I was a little girl. I became a Christian by choice because my parents really never took me to church. So I started going to church on my own, and I decided to discover God and learn all about God by myself. And really, that's how I came into this whole idea of learning about God. And this morning, I needed to share this, even though it was like a last minute live stream, because I felt that I had to share it, especially as a prelude to something I'm doing that starts this Wednesday. And this Wednesday, just so that you know, I'm starting a new series. I'm starting a new series, and I'll tell you more about it in just a little bit. But as I'm starting this new series, I've had different things that have crossed my mind, come to mind, and I just felt compelled to share these things with you. And so, what I'm going to share is probably not something that I think will show up in terms of what I'll be sharing later on this week, but I thought I'd share it. So, let me just tell you, just so that you know that you are invited, is that starting Wednesday and every Wednesday for the month of March, because March we begin and Wednesday we begin the month of March. And March, every Wednesday in March, I declared it Wealth Creation Wednesday. And every Wednesday, I'm going to be sharing some ideas with you. And I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. But today, I wanted to share with you some of the notes that came to me from my journaling. Now, if you don't know me by now, my name is Evie Diaz, and I am a speaker, and I am the author of Manifesting My Fab Rich Life, a woman's guide to creating your fabulous future self. And you'll be hearing more about that as the time gets nearer for me to have that journal first and then the book available for purchase from you. And for now, I do want to just start sharing some things that I believe are downloads from, maybe we can call it the God within, the goddess within, s- source, my future self. I'm getting these downloads to share different things. And I just thought, might as well share these things while they're in my mind, and as a prelude or as a preview to the upcoming attractions, what I want to be sharing and what I will be sharing. So, as you're watching this and listening to this, I did put a disclaimer there at the bottom of my content. And I'm going to just make sure that you know what the disclaimer is. And my disclaimer says, this is not a sermon. How weird, right? The reason why I wrote that is because, for me anyway, when I start hearing different Bible texts, I start thinking that I'm in church, and then it reminds me of that little girl that I'm reminded of today when she used to go to church. And so this is not a sermon, although to me it may sound like a sermon. And I am not a theologian, I'm not a pastor, and not to offend anyone, but I do not even consider myself a traditional Christian. I really consider myself spiritual. That's what I would say. I'm a spiritual person. And I think I was more of a traditional Christian. And I chose to be Christian at 12 years old when I got baptized without my parents' consent. And although I no longer consider myself a traditional Christian, I have several Bible verses that now resonate with me more than ever. And I'm also becoming what I call my future self, or my best future self, and these verses really resonate with my best future self. So I hope that this resonates with you, whether you're a Christian or not, spiritual or not. And I hope that by sharing my personal experience, that you can be inspired to align your desires, your faith, and your feelings with the belief that we really do live in an abundant universe. And in this abundant universe, everything is truly possible when we believe that it is possible. And so that's what I wanted to share today. So this morning, I do two types of journaling. The first journaling that I do is the journaling that comes from my very own journal. That is the journal that will be available for purchase very soon. And that is a prompted journal. And that journal is to help you create your best, or what we call fab rich future self, which, by the way, fab stands for feel, act, and be rich. And your future self is anyone that you desire to be in the future, which the future could be tomorrow, next week, next month, in 6 months, a year, 10 years from now. And just to recap, I want just to kind of tell you how this came about. During the months of December and into January, just about right before my birthday, January 6th, I and my husband contracted COVID. Yay. Aw. And what happened that we had COVID and we had to stay home. Yep. We had to stay home. And we stayed home, and it was just him and me talking. And usually in the month of December, at the end of the year, that's when I look back at what happened that year. And I start analyzing things, I start reviewing things, and I start looking at, well, what worked, what didn't work. And then I start looking forward into the future this year, 2023. What do I want to manifest? What are my intentions for the year? And as I was doing that, I was also doing some retrospective thinking about 10 years ago or so. And then I picked up one of my journals because I am a writer and I love to journal. Picked up one of my journals, which I have several, as many of which are just kind of lined journals with no prompts, meaning just kind of writing like in a notebook, okay, that I like to write my thoughts and things that I get in my mind. And I look back and then I started looking at, well, am I today where thought I would be 10 years ago? And I started thinking about that. And I came to the conclusion that I was not where I thought I would be. Hmm. Has that been your experience? Have you felt that when you examine your life, either in December before this new year, or when you examine your life today, thinking back 5, 10 years ago, where you hope you be today, that you're not there? And I started examining and started thinking and journaling and meditating and praying. And I said, okay, what is it? And one of the things that came up for me was that financially, I'm not where I want to be. And where I want to be is I want to be totally financially free. And what does that mean? Because we've heard that term before. So, financially rich, financially free to me means that I have choices as to where I want to live, where I want to travel, what I want to buy. It means freedom of choice to me. And so when I started thinking about that, I told my husband, I said, I'm not there. And so my husband said to me, well, you're the one that's always, reading every year, Think and Grow Rich. So what's the deal? You're reading Think and Grow Rich and you're not feeling rich. You're not feeling financially free. Why is that? And then I told my husband, you know what, honey? I think it is because of the first word there, think. I said, think. I'm such an analytical person. I judge myself so harshly. And I said, I'm not there because I think myself into and out of things. And I was like, I got to get out of my mind, out of my thoughts. And I thought about that monkey mind. You've probably heard that phrase, the monkey mind. And I said, I have a monkey mind. And my monkey mind is constantly judging myself and being unkind to myself and then having a lot of limiting beliefs. And so I said to my husband, I need to feel more. I need to get into the feelings that I want to feel when I think about being rich and what that feels like. And then I said, so instead of the Think and Grow Rich book that I've been reading, I wish the book was like Feel, Act, and Be Rich. And so that's where Fab came out. So while many people say, Evie, fab, and you're fabulous, yes, I want you and I want to live fabulously and I want us to enjoy a fabulous life. And FAB, as it came to me, is what the words are: feel, act, and be. So we want to feel, act, and be rich. We want to feel, act, and be our best future self today. So, this concept of future self, I really have to thank Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who is an organizational psychologist, who was also someone that I stumble upon on YouTube watching many of his videos about the future self and this idea that when we look forward to what we want to be, do, and have in the future, that we can have in all that today by acting as such today. And so I said, wow, that's excellent. I love that. So then that's where this FAB, feel, act, and be rich today. So what it means is that today I think about how my ideal self would be tomorrow, a year from now, 7 years from now, which I have a big birthday in 7 years. I want to be this person. And so, what I do today is I start feeling, acting, and behaving as that future self that I want to see, that I want to be in 7 years from now. And so, that is what the Fab Rich future self is all about. So, I hope that kind of puts it into perspective of where we're going with this. And so, the idea of rich, and when I say rich, I really mean rich in every area of your life. Rich in love, in health, in money, of course, rich in every area of our lives. And so that kind of resonates with me with me more. And also this idea of us living our best life today, now. And to live our best life, either in the future of 10 years, 7 years, 5 years, the best way that we can do that is by living today the way we want to be in the future. So, for example, if in May or June or July, whatever, I wish I could release or I want to release 10 pounds, in a few months, what I do today will be a huge determinant to whether or not in July or in a few months I am at the weight that I see myself as. So, therefore, what I do today is the basis and most important moment to realize that what I do today, the choices I do, how I feel, act, and feel, act, and be today will then be a huge determinant of my future self over the summer when I release the weight that I want to. So does that make sense? I sure hope so. Let me know in the chat whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this during the replay or the recording. Let me know and just make sure you tag me so that I can notice your question or response or thought, and then I can answer. So, in journaling this morning, going back to why I'm here today, in journaling this morning, I had all these childhood Bible verses that came to mind. Remember, I said at the very beginning that I woke up and all of a sudden, what came to my mind as I was doing some freestyle writing on my notebook, which I call a journal, this notebook, I started to come up with all these thoughts about my childhood, what I thought about money. And so I realized that I've had some money beliefs in my life that really have prevented me from enjoying that financial freedom that I want. And I know you've heard this before. Stick with me. And I hope that even if you have heard this before, that today is the day that it resonates with you, like it has with me. Because remember, I've heard all these things in the past also. And now I truly understand what people say when they said, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So now I truly get a lot of these things that I didn't get, even though I heard them time and time again from so many speakers, authors, coaches, and experts that I've invested in. So I've had a lot of money beliefs that have kept me from really realizing my best life. And I started thinking about what happened to me as a little girl, and in terms of all those Bible verses that I learned, if I really understood them, if I really believed them, if I really felt them, if I acted in faith in accordance with what I was reading and studying in the Bible. And so I just wanted to share this because I realized during journaling that I really never did. And so I started having these massive downloads for all these little Bible verses that I memorized as a little girl. And so here is one of them that came up for me this morning. And it says, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." And this one was the first one, and I'll tell you why. And this was from Luke 12:32. And here I am quoting the Bible. And you can look it up for yourself. And you're free to, take this information and do what you feel is best for you to do with this. And so this one came up first because I started realizing that fear was one of the biggest impediment, the biggest rock on my journey, on my walk with God at that time and with myself on this journey called life. And so I had a lot of fear. And then it says, "It is your Father's good will to give you the kingdom." This one came to mind because I believe that as a female, as a woman, we are queens, right? And so the word kingdom resonates with me because for many years I've been called the email marketing queen. And I love crowns and I own a few crowns. I've used them for doing several different women's conferences and workshops, as well as I used it during my Sweet 16 and during my wedding. So I love crowns. And then I thought about, well, it is God's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. And then I like the word father because then it made me think of my parents, specifically my mother. It is your mother's will to give you the kingdom. And then I thought about growing up so poor that we really had to be very considerate of each other if we were even going to go inside the refrigerator, what we were going to take out, because everything was limited to one for each. So if I wanted an extra piece of cake or candy or some sweet, or even like the chicken, when my mom used to cook chicken and serve us, there was one piece of chicken for each of us. So I really had to, know what I wanted to, because we grew up so poor. But yet at the same time, my mother would really go out of her way as much as she could with the resources that she had both internally in her mind and actually financial resources to give me what I needed, what she thought I wanted. She would really, really try. Like I remember one Christmas, I really wanted a Barbie doll. And she tried to give me this Barbie doll, but she ended up giving me several dolls that were not Barbie. But you know what? I was the happiest little girl because I'm like, she gave me these dolls, which I thought were like Barbie dolls. And I was so happy. So it made me realize, wow, if my mother, who is here with me, wants to try and give me everything, how about my source? God, the source of all things. And of course, I understand this verse because if my mother here on earth wanted to give me everything, how much more does my God, my source of all good, wants to give me everything? Of course. Then the other one, that the other Bible text that came to mind was, God is able to bless you abundantly so that all things at all times, having all that you need. And that one is from Second Corinthians 9:8. And it made me understand that I had read that and I had memorized that verse, but I did not believe it. I didn't believe it. And that's the case that I'm trying to, the point in case that I'm trying to share with you today, is that the belief factor had not been what I had in my mind. I didn't believe. And there's another verse that said, for you, that when you believe in things not seen, that is faith. So I didn't have the necessary faith either. And let me just tell you, I'm not judging myself, not anymore. So I'm not judging myself. I'm just looking back at my little girl upbringing, what I learned in church, and how my interpretation and my beliefs were cemented in me. They were thoughts, thoughts that I kept hearing and listening to in church and inside my own head, that I believed them and that I interpret them in a way that really limited me. And even though the Bible was clear, I didn't understand. So it didn't go and penetrate my soul. And if you want to use that term, my soul, my belief system, my brain, I did not really, really believe it. And, so I don't know how many people, or if you yourself are experiencing this, that perhaps you're going through the motions, but not the emotions. And the emotions that we want to feel are the joy of knowing. So, for example, in my spiritual life now, when I pray, one of the prayers that I love that I've learned from Unity on the Bay and the Unity teachings is something that is called affirmative prayer. And I share that because that has really transformed the way I pray and the way I manifest my life. And by learning how to do affirmative prayer, I have learned how to do affirmations, which to me are like affirmative prayer. In Unity, we say, our thoughts are prayers. And if I affirm something and feel it and believe it, right? Feel it and believe it and let it be ingrained into my being, my body, and my mind, right? Then it's going to become part of my new belief system. And so a lot of these verses, like ask and it will be given to you, I didn't know or understand it back then. Now, through affirmative prayer, what I am doing now more and more is that once I pray affirmatively for something, I work on just believing it and releasing it by not even praying about it again. Because at the end, I say, it is done, and so it is. And so I start believing that, yes, you know, I put my request out there to source, God, universe, and that it will happen. Either that which I want, something better, or something that is for my best good. And that's it. And I accept it and I let it be. And so that has really made a big impact into how I journal and how I pray, doing the affirmations, which are also affirmative prayers that I learned from Unity. And that is also something that I'm sharing also in my Fab Rich Future Self retreat, which, by the way, if you visit our futureselfretreat.com, you'll see that coming up in May, we're going to have a future self retreat, which we're going to be learning about affirmation, saying affirmation. And then one of the things that I really like is creating your own affirmations. Because I think that when you create your own, you personalize it, you believe it. So, for example, like if I say I affirm that I am a seven-figure $1 million producing speaker and author, that resonates with me. And the more I say it, the more I believe it. And if I give you that affirmation, even let's say you wanted or didn't want to be a speaker and an author, let's just keep it, I'm a seven-figure entrepreneur or I earn seven figures. If that's not what you want, what you've asked for, what you believe, you're not going to feel it. And if you don't feel it, you're not going to have any faith in believing that that is actually possible for you. So, one of the things we're going to be discussing in the month of March, as we starting this Wednesday, every Wednesday. And then at the end of March, March 31st, we are having a mini virtual retreat. And then we'll be going deep into this idea of how to say and create affirmations when we get together for the future self retreat. We're going to go more in depth about this idea of creating our own affirmations, repeating them, recording them, journaling upon them, which means meditating upon them, and really begin transforming our minds. And like the Bible says, renewing of our minds. So we'll be transforming our minds in the way that is more in alignment with what we want and what we believe. So, in other words, I want you to understand something from my perspective, that what I am sharing today and in the upcoming Wednesday, starting this Wednesday, is based on my experience. It doesn't make it true, it doesn't make it right, it's my experience. But what I want you to do is take that and see how it could relate to you, how it could benefit you, how you could make it more personalized and customized to you, so that then you can go and create your fab rich future self however you want, however you desire. And so that begins by creating these affirmations, and then not just affirmations, because one of the things I'm going to be talking about is one of the practices that I've had in my life, and that is leveraging the power of NLP. NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming, which is the way that we talk to ourselves, understanding these subconscious beliefs and how through words and what we speak, they come out. And when we understand that and the meaning that we had, we can change the meaning. You have probably heard of a saying that says nothing has any meaning except the meaning we give it. So, this is an important concept, I believe, because when we change the meaning, and one of the ways that we'll be discussing during our retreats, how you change the meaning is by using this idea of reframing. When you reframe what it means, right? And then when you get the feeling of that you're saying, and you look and say, is that aligned with what I feel, either what I feel now, what I believe, and if not, then do I want that to be in alignment with where I am or where I'm going? You know what I mean? So we're going to do a lot of intro inside work rather. We're going to talk about really looking deeply into our subconscious beliefs, into how we have given definitions to experiences, to words that are really not allowing us to flourish, that are really not allowing us to be happy, that are really being detrimental to who we want to be and how we want to experience life, our best life. And it will help us to uncover what has really been stopping us from really enjoying life to the fullest. And that is whether it is having the beautiful bod that you want, meaning the beautiful body that you want, or accepting the body that you have. How to really create the life of your dreams by creating the love of your life. And why haven't you created the love of your life? Why haven't you manifested? When we start really taking a deep dive into the concepts that we have come to believe by thinking about these, how they have stopped us from truly enjoying the life that we want, then we'll start releasing it, and we'll start doing some exercises that I learned from a gentleman called radical forgiveness. And radical forgiveness, along with NLP exercises, is what I use and what I'll be sharing with you during our upcoming retreat, and how to use them to really once and for all release the negative beliefs that have totally stopped you from enjoying whatever it is that you want in life, whether that is love, health, fitness, money, whatever it is. And to look at it in a way that really, really sinks in. And once and for all, we stop the negative chatter and the negative thinking and the negative belief, and just we stop ourselves from really creating what we want to create. And one of the ways, another way that we're going to do that is by using a powerful technique called journaling. That's right. And let me show you. You know what this is? This is my first journal that I bought when I was 12 years old, and I started when I was 13. And this journal says, if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it, by William Arthur Ward. And I want to share with you the power of journaling. And there's a certain type of journaling which I'll share with you during our upcoming retreat, which is called future self journaling. And that is actually the journal that I'm creating that you will have your hands on once I finish it in time for our retreat in Florida. And it's called future self journaling. And it is this idea that you can write your own story, similar to the way that I'm writing my book, which is part of my story. You can write your own story. You can write your story of your future self. And it's powerful for transforming your mind and transforming your life. And then I like what this says, if you can imagine it, because that is another of the techniques that we're going to use. We're going to use imagination, and the NLP process that we will use is called visualization, which is also a spiritual technique to really visualize who you want to be in your future self. And remember, I said your future self is who you want to be and show up as yourself, be it tomorrow in an important meeting or in a gathering, be it in a month from now, in a year from now, 5 or 10 years from now, that's who your future self is. And so by doing these visualizations, these NLP, these self forgiveness exercises, we're going to be changing our thoughts, which will change our beliefs, which will change the way that we manifest things in our lives. And not just change it, but really, my desire is for us to experience massive breakthroughs that allow for transformation. Because once we begin to really replace those thoughts, give it different meanings, define things in a different way, we begin to do as Dr. Wayne Dyer says. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And when we change the way we look at things, we change our lives, we change our perspective. And this is one of the things that I want us to really have conversation around, because when we begin first to be real and truthful to ourselves by journaling our truth and doing some self coaching, some self therapy perhaps through journaling, then we can come together and discuss it and talk out loud and listen to the words that are coming from within. And then we can process that in a different way, especially after doing some self forgiveness work, and we release a lot of the judgment, a lot of the just not being kind and loving to ourselves. And so, the way that we're going to do that, that I want to invite you to really consider, is by checking out something that I'm going to start on Wednesday, and that is our 5 day Fab Rich experience. And Fab stands for feel, act, and be. And so this is just me going live like I'm doing today for 5 days in March. And the days are Wednesdays at 2 p.m. So every Wednesday at 2 p.m., I'm going to be going live. And this will be my new live stream based on these teachings that I'm sharing with you, which these are all related to us creating that future self that we want to create, so that we can start enjoying the life that we want to enjoy. And so I'm going to put it here in the bottom so that you can see it. And you want to go to bizniversity.com, 5 day Fabric experience. And remember, it is 5 days, but not 5 consecutive days like when I used to do challenges. This is not a challenge. This is me just sharing some concepts in hopes that you have your own realization of what is stopping you and how you can move past that once and for all, forever, and really begin enjoying the life of your dreams, which I call your fab rich future self. And so I want to invite you to check it out by going to bizniversity.com, 5 day Fab Rich experience. It begins on Wednesday and goes on every Wednesday at 2 p.m. during the month of March. And so I want you to check it out and consider joining us. And in case you're curious, let me just tell you a little bit about what I've been inspired to share. So, what I've been experiencing and what I've been inspired by my highest future self is to share 5 concepts over the next 5 weeks. And the first one will be this idea of gratitude, and how can we more powerfully express more gratitude. On day one, which will be this Wednesday, week one, that's what we're going to be focused on. Then on week two, the following Wednesday, we're going to be talking about what can happen when you're tuned in. And as Esther Hicks from um, Abraham says, when we're tuned in and tapped on, when we are aware of our emotions and our feelings, what is it that can happen? And how can we get to that? to those feelings. And what do feeling like you're rich, what does that feel like? And then on day 3, which is week 3, we're going to be talking about how to affirm that you are rich now. How can you affirm it? And not just affirm it like el papagayo. My mom used to say that word, and that is a parrot in Spanish, papagayo. How can you go from not just being a parrot like I was, affirming Bible verses, saying Bible verses without feeling them, without believing it? So, how can you do affirmative prayer if you believe in prayers or affirmations? How can you affirm yourself into your best future self? So, we'll be talking more about the different ways that I've learned about creating affirmations, saying affirmations, and more importantly, believing and living into those affirmations. And then on week 4, we're talking about you are a powerful magnet, manifesting everything through your thoughts, words, actions. So your results are proof that you are a powerful manifester. And so we'll talk about and we'll be sharing some experiences about that entire manifesting concept and what it means for us individually and how we can step into the power of manifesting. And then on day 5, which will be week 5, we'll talk about just every day feeling, acting, and being your fab rich future self and what that is for you, because that's very personal to you. So I look forward to starting on Wednesday. I look forward to you joining us for this month of March, for these 5 weeks, one day each and every week during the month of March, where I will be sharing with you just from my heart, whatever my higher self, my highest self, spirit source downloads to me, and I'll share with you. And then whatever you want to do with it is really up to you. I'm just sharing from my heart. I really believe that this is meant for others who are like me, and want to move their lives powerfully to where they always wanted to feel and be their best self. And if that is you, then by all means, please check it out. If you have any questions, post them down below. I wanted to keep this to 30 minutes, but I've gone a little further. Please excuse that. And just I hope that I can see you there because I really think that we are going to have a one of a kind experience together. For now, I am Evie Diaz, strategic growth speaker at Biz University and the creator and author of Fab Rich Life and Manifesting Your Fab Rich Future Self. And I look forward to talking and sharing and hearing from you on Wednesday. For now, make sure you check out bizniversity.com, 5-day, 5 rich experience, as well as the futureselfretreat.com, so that you can begin immersing yourself and experiencing this that I have been experiencing, which I believe is life affirming and life transforming content, of which, when applied, when believed, when really immersed into, really will make a huge difference in your life. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.